welcome to this month's Creatrix Conversations. And I am really excited to introduce you to our guest, Kirsty Jandrell. Thanks for being here, Kirsty.
Hi there, Flora. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited and grateful to be with you today.
Yeah, wonderful. So Kirsty and I are going to be speaking about midlife metamorphosis and everything, well, not everything. We're not going to talk about everything that comes up, but a lot of the common challenges that do come up for women in midlife. And Kirsty is just a wonderful person to have this conversation with. She's a friend, a soul sister, a client, a colleague. I also learn from her. She's my online Kundalini yoga teacher. So I'm really thrilled to have you on the show today, love. Why don't we start out with you sharing a bit about the beginning of your own midlife metamorphosis?
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be here. Yes, firstly, I just wanted to say, I think we are, as women in midlife at this point in history, actually extremely lucky, because we have so much opportunity that our mums, certainly our grandparents, our grandmothers didn't have. And I guess for me, I was a bit of a late starter, really, in entering midlife. I was sort of, I've been very blessed to have been a business owner for over 15 years now. I run a recruitment company, and I was single up until I was 44. So I finally got married at 44. And that for the first time, and that kind
an
of
important distinction, right? Married for the first
time. Everybody else managed to escape me, but yeah, 44, and that sort of was almost the trigger, really, for a succession of very fast-paced life changes and initiations and opportunities for growth, for soul growth, and really sort of finding myself in a point in midlife where I had a huge opportunity to grow. So the first of these came at 46, when I was blessed to finally become a mum. Geriatric mum, of course, and that was amazing. So yeah,
I hate that term.
That phrase still exists.
They gave me that term because I was a mum at 36.
Oh my goodness, I know, it's that's one thing that really needs to change, isn't it? I mean, goodness. So yeah, that happened, and that was just an amazing time for me. I was just so grateful. And I'd sort of taught, you mentioned the yoga. I taught yoga alongside my sort of full-time job for about 20 years prior to that. So I'd almost had a dual existence, really. I'd had quite an active spiritual life, and I was lucky enough to teach yoga, and I also had a very busy business life. And then 2 years after that, 18 months after that, I basically lost my mum and stepdad on the same day. They passed away suddenly. Wasn't an accident or anything like that, but they both it was almost, bizarrely, it was almost like looking back, it feels like a soul contract. They were very much soulmates. And that was obviously a huge initiation, and it just afforded me an opportunity to really sit back and think, what do I want to do with my life? Who knows what's going to happen? And it was just pre-COVID, interestingly enough. And I'd started doing taking up extra training as a life coach and various other sort of spiritual modalities. And it was a real juncture where I just remember thinking, okay, you've got a real opportunity now to really reassess and move into a different field if that feels right. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, really.
Wow, I witness you, sister, just in those huge life events happening so closely together, right? The marriage, and then the baby becoming a mom, at that later age, right? And then the tragedy of losing not only your mom, but your mom and your stepdad. And and then I know that part of all of this is that you've also been experiencing menopause. So,
oh yes.
right? So all these emotional things happening and mental, and then it's like the body goes through this change.
Absolutely. And that's a huge thing. And I think, again, I thank you so much for sort of witnessing all of that and acknowledging that. But it's, again, we have that awareness now as women in midlife that firstly, there's such a thing as menopause, and B, we have so many tools at our disposal to not only navigate it, but to be able to flourish in that period. And that was sort of quite a slow awakening process for me, that I was gradually aware that I wasn't quite feeling as chipper as I normally did, and I was feeling a little bit more sluggish, and your confidence starts to dip. I mean, I know it affects different people and different women in different ways, but it was just a slow awareness, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we've got that into the mix as well. So we really are at a bit of a point here where we can change things.
Wow. Yeah. Well, when I read your chapter in the Turning Point anthology that Flower of Life Press put out, I just remember when you asked me to read your chapter, and I thought that I knew you, right? Just as well as we know many of our online friends or acquaintances, having no idea of that tragedy that you had gone through. So I'm reading your story and I'm just bawling, and I just couldn't, it's just, well, it's an initiation that I've not yet gone through, right? Losing a parent. I was so struck by how much how heart-centered you stayed, or in sharing that chapter and sharing that experience in how much you learned and grew through the grief.
Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely a portal, and I think for a lot of women in midlife, unfortunately, it is a time where our relationships with our parents change. So, we may become carers. We may even, to the point where we home them. We might help them in their transition, and our the relationships dynamic change. And then, a lot of women will go through this, sadly, at this point where you realize, gosh, your parents are not there anymore. And for me, it was, just speaking very personally, I was an only child. I'm an only child. I still am. And I was blessed to have an incredibly supportive and mutually loving relationship with my mom and my stepdad. So it was, when she just suddenly went, it was as though I had to redefine who I was, because I'd always, and again, this awareness didn't really blossom until I was in that situation. But I almost had to redefine who I was as an individual, because I'd always see myself through the lens of my relationship with my mum. So, that in and of itself was a real opportunity to step into my identity, I guess, maybe even for the first time in my life. So it was really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Again, really
But
witnessing you, and I want to say, if anyone watching, listening, if you've experienced a loss similar on this scale, and just something that you learned about yourself through that loss, you can share in the comments, or if there's any comments or questions for Kirsty through this whole conversation, just put it in the comments. It also strikes me that those menopause symptoms might have been harder to pick up on because you could have chalked it up to the grief.
Yeah. I think that was a big thing. Yeah, it was sort of like trying to sort of filter through and think, where are all these feelings? Where did they come from? Where do they belong? Is it my hormones? Is it the situation? And yeah, and I think this is it. For a lot of women, there can be so many external factors that, we joke about being geriatric parents, but for a lot of women, in this stage, they're going through something which is extremely challenging, I should imagine, which is empty nest syndrome, and that surely brings so many again sort of questions about definition of role and identity, and as you say, where does it fit in with all the other menopausal symptoms, and how do you unpick it all, really? So we've got we have an interesting little ball of experiences to unpack as women during this time, I think.
Absolutely. And like most things, everyone's experience is unique, and there can be, exactly, the common symptoms, like hot flashes, right, or something. But even that, not everyone experiences hot flashes in the same way or to the same degree. And our life choices do change, I guess, when we get to these certain transitions or stages, or also just what they look like. As I was reflecting lately that when my mom was 45, I had already moved out of the house. I was already moved to the big city and was in college, and my brother was soon to graduate high school. So she was very much facing into the empty nest at my age. And I never lived with my mom when she went through menopause. I never saw her symptoms. We maybe talked about it a bit, but we weren't in the same house, right? We weren't under the same roof. And compared to my situation, I have a 9-year-old. So I'm looking at least a decade, if not a bit longer, to be totally honest, before he's out of the house. And my wife, who's younger than me, has already gone through menopause and has hot flashes all the time. So he is experiencing it in a totally different way than I ever did. And also because Christy's body, Kirsty, see, I'm married to a Christy. Anyway, her body it was right for her body to go into menopause early. So and meanwhile, my one aunt had periods until she was 56. So
wow. Yeah, absolutely. This is it, isn't it? It's such a unique journey for everybody. Everyone is so different, and as you say, there's so many different symptoms to pick to choose from. There's such a buffet, isn't there? So some women can sail through, and I have a friend actually who's now in her late 50s, and she recalls knowing that she went through the menopause in the early 50s, and it was of no consequence really to her. It didn't affect her, and she just sailed through, and which is great. Hey, that's the best case scenario, but sadly it's not the same for everybody. So
and of course we're not here today to just talk about menopause.
We're not.
That is a huge hormonal change and body change that happens, but you've identified 5 common challenges that women experience at this time of life. So why don't we jump into those five challenges?
Sure. Yeah. So I think these are pretty common to everybody. I mean, the first one we've kind of touched on, which is the changes around motherhood. So be it empty nest syndrome, or whether you're an older mum, energy levels running after 5-year-olds, 9-year-olds, they present challenges. So that's a biggie, really. For women who are seeing their children leave, it's such a. I personally have another friend who's had 2 girls leave for university within a couple of years, and I know she found that extremely hard, and coupled with bereavement as well from one of her parents. So there's, as you say, there's no sort of cookie cutter way that these things are going to play out. So that's a biggie. And the second one, I think we've also touched on, which is just all of the changes around our body, energy levels, our emotions, our self-image as well, how that can be challenged. We can be, I think, pretty much attached to our self-image in our early 20s, 30s, and that does change. And especially, sadly, our culture does not support, as well as I feel it should, this amazing passage. It's getting better, but still there's very much sort of a focus on youth and maintaining that youthful image. So that can be, extremely challenging for a lot of women, I think.
Yeah. If anyone else is feeling challenged by this, just let's see some hearts on the broadcast, because I know that this is real. For sure. And there's a comment here from a sister watching that says, I had my kids at 32, 40, and 43, and I'm now 50. Wow. I've been divorced nearly 2 years with these young kids, and my parents are in their mid 80s, and they're in the end of life process. It's a terribly hard time, and I'm struggling to redefine myself.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you.
And don't they call that being the sandwich generation? When you still have kids that you're actively parenting, but now you have also older parents that you're needing to care for. It's like, whoa, those responsibilities. And then, yourself in the middle, which still at 50, we have ambitions. We have things we want to do and create, places we want to go. So this is all part of those changing responsibilities and changing self-definitions. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely witnessing that. Yeah. And I think this feeds into, the third thing that we were talking about, the third, initiation potentially, which is around relationships of all sorts, romantic relationships, familial, friends, especially when we're on the spiritual path at this time. And, we all know we're in an extremely accelerated period of transition spiritually, globally. A lot of our friendships that were so solid have almost kind of fallen away as we, perhaps deepen onto the spiritual path. And it's how, it's having the confidence and the tools really to navigate that. That can be quite a challenge. Again, it's sort of, all these things that have almost been our touchstones, our stability, our riverbanks they can all suddenly dissipate, and it, it throws up this huge opportunity for self-reflection and all of the struggles that can go with that. So
I really felt that in that metaphor of like the river, and that relies on the riverbanks. And then if the riverbanks erode, or, the water levels rise, and it's just a flood, right? A flood of emotions, a flood of things. Where are those usual, guiding points, touchstones, or where are those things that have been, part of our identity? And part of our role. I'm really feeling that. So carry on with these yeah, these challenges.
Yeah, and friendships, romantic relationships. I think also, again, I'm coming back to the spiritual path, but I think, and this is quite a common thing that I'm hearing, that in many relationships, one person may be deepening into their spiritual journey and into their questioning, their self-knowing, their wanting for self-alignment, soul alignment, whereas their partner may not be, and that can present challenges of its own, which can of course be navigated, but yet again it's this change, as you say, it's the banks, and really the only place we can go is within, to really connect with our core, and to really sort of do the work, really, and really sort of embrace who we are. So so that's another one, really.
I love that. And I just want to share too that in my youth, when I was in relationships with men, I obviously never expected them to join me in my goddess love, divine feminine spirituality, right? It wasn't then when, it just wasn't at all a thought. Like, appreciate it and respect that for me, but I didn't seek to include them, right? Then when I started dating Christy, who then ultimately became my wife, it was suddenly like, I'm with a woman. Now we get to go to women's circles together. And I brought her a couple times, and that was a learning experience, and it was wonderful. But ultimately Christy said, it's not entirely for me. Like, and I love that, and I respect it for you, same thing. And I just thought, oh, right, like, just because you're my partner now. Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to say that I'm someone who's in a relationship, who's married to someone who doesn't have as deep or prominent as a spiritual practice or path as I do. And so it really doesn't mean that you can't be in a relationship with someone. Only every couple knows, like, what is the balance there? Is there respect? And are there touch points? Like, I'll still always remind Christy, hey, it's a new moon, if you want to set any intentions. But otherwise, I just let it be. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And that's such a beautiful thing, though, isn't it? That, you've got that mutual respect, and honoring of you as a whole person, as whole people. I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm very similar. My husband's, we actually met through yoga, but he's certainly not in any priestess temples that I attend, but he's very respectful, and he's actually really quite interested in it. But to expect him to be in as deeply as I am would just be unrealistic, really. So it's interesting, isn't it?
So where are we at with your challenges?
So we're at number 5. So I think the last one is the biggie, really, and we've kind of touched on this. It's we really start to question the big one. Why are we here? What's our purpose? What's our dharma? What's yes, we've probably had some amazing experiences and grown and developed, but it's a real point of soul searching for a lot of women, where we step into that wise woman archetype, and the crone stage, and just really start to sort of deeply ponder and question our purpose. So I guess that's a biggie. And of course that can, there's a beauty in that. There's such a beauty in that, and in the ability to sort of do all the shadow work and work through trauma and work through patterning and all of that. But it's it's not an easy path, and it's not of course it's not, no one promises that it is, but it's I think we're so ready by this point in our in our lives to actually embrace that work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Do
so
you
true.
find that, Flora?
And no, and I think that's this stands true for someone like no matter what, because it's either another time of deep reevaluation and redefining. If you know, someone who's been on a personal growth path for then, it's again, it's like hitting this time is still, or if it's for someone who's really just like lived their life and done, you know what, and maybe hasn't given a lot of thought to what is my purpose, or what is, you know, what is it that I really want to do with my time here on earth, then I think that might be would probably be a lot more profound at this point. I think especially we joke about these milestone birthdays, but you know, hitting 50 is half a century. I sure hope that people are taking stock of their lives at making half a century, right?
Yeah, it's so true. And I love that. It's, you know, it's just sort of it can be just a layer of the onion, can't it, to unpeel as we you know, as we emerge. But also, yeah, it's a time when for a lot of people, they've not actually deepened into that inquiry to quite the extent that they may have done before.
Yeah.
I personally know that for me, 30 was a biggie. Actually, I was dreading 30. 50 was, I was okay with 50, but 30 I found very difficult. So it's interesting, isn't it, how we find different cultural milestones. Such personal journey.
I think so too. And we have another comment here from a sister saying, I'm embracing the crone stage. I'm learning to connect with the wisdom and rite of passage. I earned it. Yes, you have, sister.
Absolutely.
Yes, you have. And, you know, I know there's a lot of talk nowadays about there being you know, an archetype in between mother and crone. We're living longer. A lot of people, well, you know, there's some people call it the queen phase before the crone phase. Other people prefer like, what's the other one I hear used? Was it matriarch? I don't know. No, and that doesn't sound right. If anyone remembers, put that in. But there's, if you love the word crone and what it means with the wise woman, I say we need more of us women reclaiming the crone and the power and wisdom of the crone. And now Michelle is saying, and to hit 50 means that you are now highly collectible.
I love that. Oh, thank you, Michelle. I shall remember that.
Funny.
Oh,
yeah,
dear.
Thank you so
But
much.
yeah,
I want to say thank you so much for sharing those 5 common challenges, and yeah, the changing bodies, our changing relationships, really questioning the big you know, the bigger reason, you know, all of those are so true. And however that's showing up for you, and you know, like I said, this isn't about whether you're in menopause or not, or what. It's just, I think that you know, anytime, I mean, what would you consider midlife? I really feel like I can't deny I'm in midlife now that I'm at 45, but I also know that I could be past my midlife. Like that's my reality check right now, that it's very likely I have less years ahead of me than I do behind me. And I didn't know that saying that out loud was actually going to bring up some tears.
Oh, hearing you,
you know, and yeah, just realizing that. And that's the fact that we only have a certain amount of time here on earth is what makes life so precious, right? Because the truth is, I might not have,
thank you
you know, I might not have another 45 years. You know, we don't know, we never know. And I think when you went through your tragedy with your parents, I mean, how could that not be a huge wake-up call for you? Yeah.
Oh, and there's such a potency, isn't there, in saying things out loud, and it just gives them a dimension, a vibration of, whew, actually, yes. That is quite, so really sort of witnessing you in that. And I think, thank you again. Yeah, I mean, my mum was 70, and I saw her the week before, and she looked amazing. She had glowing skin, she was laughing, and there were just no signs at all. So it was a complete shock, and it crystallized it's so easy, isn't it, to say, you don't know if it's going to be your last day, but you honestly don't. And as you just connected with that reality, then it makes, when you have that clarity of yes, we're eternal beings, but that in this carnation we may not exist in the same form at any point. It gives every day that beautiful potency, and it focuses the awareness and the consciousness to such a diamond point that this is one of the beauties, I think, of where we are. It's because it brings everything into such magnified technicolor sort of beauty, really, that it gives you that appreciation, things that you may take for granted. And this is going to sound twee, but I don't care. The birds singing, the river running past, the smile on your child's face, a gaze from someone in the supermarket, just anything that gives you that feeling of being alive and of being connected, to nature, to others on the planet. It's a beautiful time to really embrace that and embody it, and make every day special, because every day is special. Because we're here, we have the gift of life.
Yeah. And isn't that why I think that expression exists, like youth is wasted on the young? Because when we're young, we don't have the same appreciation, and we think it's about the big things and the big achievements, and then the older we get, we realize exactly what you're talking about. It's the little things, right?
It is.
We're having some great comments come in, so I want to say them out loud. One sister says, I think seeing my parents age and become so frail has brought me a greater understanding of the life cycle, and I feel at peace with it. That's beautiful. It also lights a fire to get to it and do the things I want to do. That's right, sister. That motivation of knowing that we don't actually have all the time in the world. And another sister says, I get choked up when I think about how we won't know our last period is the last one until the next one doesn't come.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because that is a grieving process in and of itself, isn't it? It's that part of our womanhood that will no longer be. So
yeah. And then one more, it's up to us to make the ones ahead our very best. There aren't ever any guarantees. I have a dear friend who expects to die before the end of this year, and she is having a farewell tour and hosting goodbye dinners. And I have laughed in the face of death harder with her than I ever have before. Where, oh death, is now thy sting? Thank you, sister.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Whoa.
Thank you so much for sharing.
This has been a potent conversation already. And I know that, of course, we can talk about the challenges, but there's also 5 opportunities that you see in this stage of life. So let's flow into those opportunities that are here for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's so lovely, those comments, and I resonate with all of those experiences. So thank you so much. So yeah, I mean, really, it's sort of turning those challenges into the opportunities that they really are. And, you know, depending on how you view, you know, our existence, you know, we can see every initiation, every challenge as an opportunity, as a gateway. So the first one is that the thing that we talked about last, really, it's the opportunity to reassess what we really want to do. How do we, one of the women there just said, how do we want to spend the rest of our years, you know? What is our dharma? What is our life purpose? And to ask ourselves, really ask ourselves, are we living in alignment with our essence, with our soul? And if we're not, what can we do? What can we let go of that's no longer serving us, that's actually not worthy of our energy or our time anymore, or is just, you know, it's just played its role? So that is one of the most amazing opportunities that I found. It's that, not excuse, but it's it's a reason to just be quite brutally reassess how you spend every moment, really.
Yeah, just being brutally honest with yourself. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But lovingly brutally honest.
Yes, yes. Lovingly, brutally honest. Okay, yeah, we can do that. Beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the next one, I mean, we've talked about the challenges in terms of our self-image, our confidence, you know, levels of anxiety that menopause in particular can bring up. But it's also, as someone said earlier, it's that opportunity to look back through the lens of this wise, experienced individual and see the beauty that we've become, see the amazing gifts and the, you know, the spiritual gifts, the gifts that we've given to humanity and that we've received from humanity, and to really cherish those, and to be able to continue to give those out, you know, to really kind of bask in that self-love, but then to be able to give that out to the universe, to, you know, to everybody that you surround yourself with. So it's that, again, it's that real deep appreciation of self, I think. And sort of
anyone watching find it easier to love themselves now that they're older? Because I know that that's been my case. I was so hard on myself, you know, in my youth. And I just, yeah, so I just really feel like that. I mean, certainly if we've done some spiritual work and some healing work, that the older we get, it's kind of like, don't sweat the small stuff. And why am I being so hard on myself? Why can't I love myself exactly as I am? Yeah. Wonderful.
Exactly. And there's so much, of course, there's so many opportunities to not. So it's that brings me on to the third opportunity, which is, it's just purely and simply giving gratitude for where we are right now, and for all of the experiences that have brought us here, and just really honing that gratitude so that we can not only sit in appreciation, but receive more and more of that yumminess, you know, all those things that we love, all of those pastimes we love, all of the bits of our, you know, our personalities, our souls that we love, our friendships, everything. So giving gratitude for everything that shapes you to become that miracle, because we are miracles. We all are. So yeah, I just think gratitude is such a wonderful opportunity, and this little pause that we have, that we can create at this point, is a beautiful portal to sink into that, I think.
No, I couldn't agree more. Gratitude is it's such a hugely transformational force that a lot of us don't realize the power of being grateful. Actually, especially when we're in a situation that we aren't totally happy with. Right. So it's easy to be like, well, I'm frustrated and it sucks and I want it to change. But where can we find gratitude? It will shift us so completely. And
Yeah.
and we have another comment saying, yes, I am much more accepting of myself now and much less caring about the judgment of others. Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes to that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the beauties, isn't it? The fact that you do not see yourself through the value of others. And yeah, oh, there's such a liberation in that.
I wish I knew who said this. I hate kind of paraphrasing quotes from people that I can't even give credit to, but maybe I'll try to find it and I'll put it in the comments. But someone was saying, it's like when we're in our 20s, we really care what other people think of us. Then by the time we get to our 40s, we stop caring so much about what other people think of us. Well, by the time we're in our 70s and 80s, we realize that in truth, no one was ever thinking of us.
Yes. I love that. Oh, absolutely.
I was talking,
Absolutely.
that is wise woman wisdom right there. Like, actually, in
Yes.
fact, no one or hardly anyone was ever spending time thinking about you and all those things that you were worrying about.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's exactly it, isn't it? It's moving out of that, shedding the ego almost. And the ego always gets a bad press, but as we sink more into that frequency of love, that's for ourselves and for others, the ego kind of just falls away to a degree, doesn't it? So there's I love that, such a beauty in that.
Yeah.
And that brings me on to number 4, actually, which is again coming back to the wise woman archetype a little bit. The opportunity to slow down and re-find your joy and just play, just find, again, we're talking about the small stuff, that honor this sacred time and every moment and just play, play in the sunshine, play in the moonlight, look at the flowers, make flower crowns, have little tea parties where you dress up as fairies, whatever, but it's
Right.
it's
Whatever
it's a
your
beautiful
version of
opportunity.
play looks like, right? Whatever your version of
Exactly.
play. Yeah.
Exactly. Just embrace that. Love it. And yeah, and the last one is really sort of number 5 is that we can gift ourselves the time to sit down and recalibrate. So really calibrate our nervous system, recalibrate how we spend our time, and really think about what is it that we actually really, really want to do. Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. It's how we feel. And it's less about roles and people pleasing and stepping into societal expectations, and more about what the heck is it that we want to do and we feel we are here to do. So yeah, I think that's an amazing opportunity too.
I love that. Thank you so much, Kirsty, for sharing these 5 challenges and the reframe of the 5 opportunities that we have at this stage of life to, and I just, I really do. I mean, of course, I think we all love the analogy. Well, it's not even just an analogy, like the actual metamorphosis of the caterpillar to the butterfly. This is something that just has fascinated humans for a long time. And it feels, even though I feel like I'm still at the very beginning of this midlife metamorphosis myself, certainly at least in terms of actual menopause symptoms, but that I'm in a change, I'm in a transformation right now, just through that awareness of like what we were talking about, that our time is precious, that I don't just have all the time in the world to think about things or dream about things and not act on them. So this has been a wonderful discussion, and I know that you that you help women in this stage of life. So yeah, tell us a bit more about your one-on-one work with women around this.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, part of this process has been sort of me taking a bit of a deep dive and, um, really appreciating the business that I still have, but also being able to step into another line of work that really lights me up. So I'm basically so blessed to be able to help spiritual women who are in this sort of transition, really, so that they can uncover their gifts. We've all got amazing gifts, but my real desire is to help women to uncover those gifts, bring them out into the world, and then align with their soul's calling, whatever that is, and transition to a career that lights them up and uplifts humanity. And it may not even be a career, it can often be a life phase, or just a change that really answers those questions that we've been talking about. What is it that really aligns with your essence and that you want to do? And we're in this amazing portal, really, where we're on this ascension journey together, and it's just such a great time for us all to work together to uplift each other and humanity in the process. So yeah, I'm really lit up and blessed to be able to be doing this work at the moment.
That's so exciting. So you have a 3-month program, is that right? Called Be the Change. So wonderful, supporting
Yes.
women at this, and that's transition around work, or like you said, if it's not into a full-blown new career, a new way of being, or a side I don't want to call it side hustle, but like creating another way of working in the world. So tell us a bit about Be the Change.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, it's 3 months one-to-one sort of coaching and mindset and energy healing program. So it's completely bespoke depending on basically where people are and where they want to go. So this is what makes it so exciting. And I'm blessed to be able to be working in the Akashic records. We're working with the spiritual laws, but also using sort of very much strategic and planning modalities to help that sort of come into come into form, really. So it's firstly sort of uncovering what your real gift is, removing any blocks that may be causing that. For me, for many years, those energetic blocks were there, and I wasn't aware of them. So it's working around that so that you can then step into your purpose with visibility, with confidence, with passion, and really sort of align with what you want to do, and have your hand held and have lots of fun in the process.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Well, so if anyone watching is feeling called and you would like to have your hand held by Kirsty in this transition, Kirsty is just a wonderful Akashic Records reader. In addition to, being a Kundalini yoga teacher, I know you work with mantras, the power of mantras with your clients, in addition to just being a wonderful
absolutely
life coach. So you can reach out to Kirsty through Messenger, right? Is that probably the easiest way for people to reach you? Just send you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the most direct way.
Yeah. Send Kirsty a friend request, send a message if you feel like connecting. And I shared it recently as well, but Kirsty also has a wonderful fairy healing message from the fairies quiz, which is also a lot of fun to try out. We'll put the link for that in the comments here as well.
Oh, thank you.
Beloved,
I'd love to
so wonderful. It's been so wonderful to talk to you today. And I just want, before we sign off, thank you to everyone who's been watching. Thank you for your comments and for being here. Is there any final words of wisdom? Anything else you want to say?
I just wanted to thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy, and thank you for everyone watching live or on the replay. And just remember how amazing you are and how special you are, and just cherish what you are, because yeah, you're a miracle, and you're a miracle in midlife metamorphosis. There we go. There's some alliteration.
So remember how amazing you are, and that you are a miracle in midlife metamorphosis. I love it. Wonderful last words. Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.
Bye.